Um, Thank you for joining today evening. And this is the fourth sessions on this particular topic of how we can keep positive and kind even in difficult, challenging times. And in last three sessions, we have discussed different technique or meditations, method or different way of contemplating, thinking, in order to keep our mind positive, hopeful, and kind. Not only during the easy times, but especially, even and especially during the most difficult, challenging times. And so we kind of discuss, trying to find a positive in learning and trying to find positive in even in most darkness, and we spoke about that quite a bit, as His Holiness says, he finds, the light even in the darkest day, and he focused on the brightest of that, and I think that's what we should also learn to do that. And we spoke that quite a bit. And we also spoke about, about looking from the impermanent nature of things, and then, through that understanding, being aware, that things will change, things will not remain same all the time. It's not going to be dark and challenging all the time. So we spoke about that. We also spoke about from a karmic point of view. So we spoke quite a bit on that. And as His Holiness the Lamas shared with his own experience, of course, in such difficult, challenging time, there will be a lot of frustrations. There will be a lot of frustration in our life, especially in those difficult, challenging times. But it's a matter how we use that challenging, most difficult time, whether we use it for self-distractions or destructive, or whether we use it to develop inner strength, and if we use it to develop inner strength, then with that inner strength, nothing can kind of knock us down, no matter how challenging. Nothing will be able to knock you down, because of your inner strength, because of that inner courage, confidence, and the ability to cope and deal with those challenging and difficult situations positively. And we all have that potential if we work on that. And so and one of another kind of practice that we can use, that can be helpful, is, being patient. Practice of patience is very helpful. Patience help us to be less frustrated. Help us to be less frustrating. It helps us to not be so overly angry and upset and frustrated. And as Buddha said in one of his writing, be patient. If you become patient, everything will come to you. Everything will come to you. Due to your patience, it attracts positive energies. If you are frustrated and angry, it attracts negative energy. When you are very negative persons, you will attract more negative people around you, more negative energy around you. If you are a positive and kind and compassionate person, you will attract more people who are more positive, more compassionate, more kind, and other form of positive. And so therefore, nobody want to attract the negative energy. And if you don't want to attract the negative energy, we have to build our own positive energy so that we can attract positive energy towards us, that we can share the positive energy towards others instead of sharing the negative energy to us. We can attract positive energy for ourselves, and we can share that positive energy to others. And in that way, we help each other. We help each other with that positive energy to be more positive, hopeful, more kind, more compassionate, even in those most difficult, challenging times. So being patient is one of the practicing the patience is very important factors in living in those times, because when we encounter certain obstacles, challenges, difficulties in our life, if you are very impatient, then it makes things much worse. It makes things much worse. Even when things started to improve, due to your frustration and anger and negative energy, you might not be able to see the progress that you are making. And you will not appreciate because you don't see it, you don't feel it. On the other hand, if you are patient, you begin to see small positive change, small things happening. You will be able to notice it. You will be able to feel it. And when you feel that, it gives you more positive energy, more hope. Be it with our individual life or be in a situation that the country, the world itself is like that, Just as there are, some not pleasant things happening. At the same time, there are also good things happening as well. And if you are patient about that, or you can see, some good and positive change starting to happening. Even it is on small level at the moment. You will begin to notice that. You will begin to see that. You will begin to feel that. And because of that, even there is something bad things happening, it will not make you totally kind of depressed and totally hopeless and totally give up. The worst thing is when we give up. When you give up, then that is it. When you lose the hope, and then when you give up, then that is the worst thing that can happen. But as long as you don't give up, as long as you have hope and you don't give up, you will always make the effort to change. And if you make the effort to change, the change will happen. Sometimes it takes more time. Sometimes it might not come as quick as you want. Sometimes the change might not be a big change as you want. But the change is coming, and change is happening on a small level, on a small scale. And just feeling that, just being aware, seeing and feeling that will give you some hope. That will keep the fire of the hope alive. And that is what we need, the hope, patience, not a frustration and anger. And hopeless and and so because if you are impatient, because I want change very quickly, or I want a big change, and sometimes it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes things doesn't move as fast as we want to move. Sometimes there is a change, but it's not happening on a big scale as we want to see them happening. And if we are impatient, then we wouldn't appreciate the small change happening. We wouldn't appreciate the slow change that is happening. And that, when you don't appreciate that, when you don't see, you don't feel it, then that can become bring a lot of frustrations, a lot of anger, feeling of hopeless, feeling of giving up, depressed, losing the confidence, trust, all of that. On the other hand, if you are patient, even though things are not moving as fast as you want, but you can see it's moving slowly, very slowly, but it's moving in that direction. Things are not happening on big scale that we want, but it is happening on a small scale. And just by seeing, feeling, being aware can make huge difference in your mind in terms of make you more positive. And that is what we want, positive. When the country is positive, you can direct the country in the right way. When the whole country is negative and feeling bad, then, the country will not go in the right directions. Whether it's a country, whether it's the world, whether it's a family, whatever, so what state of mind will affect how we respond, how we act, whether we act positively or whether we act negatively. It very much is affected by the way we feel about the situations and things, events, and so forth, so that is important factors. And because if you are also patient, then, it allows us to feel kind and compassion for even those who might not be kind to himself, you know. Mm. And, you know, as I mentioned from the very beginning, you know, it's not easy to be kind and compassionate in difficult, challenging situations. It's much more easier to be kind and compassionate when things are going easy and good, you know. Not only we human beings, even the animals, they can be much more kind, compassion, less violent when they are not hungry, okay? When they are not scared and fearful, you know, when they are not trying to fight over the leadership of the group, or when they're not trying to impress the other opposite sex for their, for their gains. When they are not that, they can live in very peaceful. The lion and deer can live very peacefully, you know. So even the animals, when they are in not danger, when they are not facing challenge and difficulty, even they can be kind of compassionate, you know. So being kind of compassionate in those easy and not difficult and challenging time is nothing so unique about we human beings. Even the animals seems to be able to express and show that. It is in this kind of circumstances, in most difficult, challenging time, even in those most difficult, challenging times, if you can still keep your compassion and kindness, if you can still keep and if you can still show the love and compassion, that is then the very unique of, you know, that is a very, you know, kind of, is a result of someone's practice. It shows it's the result of the practice, you know. And that is where we human beings' mind has more ability to practice and to be able to achieve that even in those most difficult points. And we had the potential to do that. We can be kind, we can be compassionate even in the most difficult time. We can be, you know, and that is where we have to pour more effort in those difficult, challenging times to build compassion and kindness, you know, instead of, that is where we have to pour more effort. When it's easy, everything's fine, we don't have to put so much effort, it just comes, as I said. Easy to do that. Easy to do that. Practitioner, non-practitioners, human, animals, for everyone is easy to not to hurt each other, not to harm each other, not to be violent with each other, and live more harmony, kind, compassion is for all species of sentient beings is easier. But it is not easy in those most difficult and challenging times. That is where we have to put much more effort in that. Because that doesn't come naturally. It requires practice, effort. You know, it doesn't come easily, so therefore it requires effort. And that's the way we as a practitioners, you know, who aspire to be more kind and compassionate, who aspire to follow the Bodhisattva path, that's the way we have to put more effort, you know, so that we can be kind and compassionate even in most difficult time, most challenging time. And to be able to feel compassion and kind, even the people who are the most evil, who are the most cruel, isn't it? It is easy to be loving and compassion for the kind, nice people. We don't have to put so much effort. You know, anyone can be kind and nice to people who is very, very nice to them, kind to them. Do we have to? I mean, we see even from a young child, you see, they are kind, compassion. If another child show them love, compassion, if they are nice to them, if they are sharing their toys, if they are, sharing their toys, they're giving something, and when something happened to them, they can feel love and compassion, even without being taught so much. Any beings, whether they have been taught about love and compassion or not, anyone can be so, it is easier to feel love and compassion for those who are very nice to you, kind to you. But it's not so easy to be kind and compassionate to those who are not nice to you, who are not kind to you, but instead who are mean to you. As a practitioner, that is where our practice should be focused. Otherwise, what difference are we from ordinary beings who doesn't have access to those techniques, practice, meditations, who are not exposed to those technical meditations? So, since we have been exposed to all these technique meditations and we have access to that, then we should utilize them, we should integrate them, and we should try to, of course, we might not be successful all the time at the very beginning, but at least we should always try to be more kind and compassionate. Practice, be more kind and compassionate, especially for those who create a lot of problem, suffering, pain. And even if we look from their point of view, they require more love, compassion than those who are nice people. Because, with their actions, they are creating so much cause and condition for so much pain and suffering for themselves. Whereas good people, nice people, they are not creating cause for their sufferings. They are creating cause for their happiness. So they have more happiness. They are creating more cause for happiness. On the other hand, they are the who are more unkind and cruel. They are the one who is creating a lot of cause for much more suffering in the futures. And thereby, they are the one who is going to experience so much suffering in the futures, even if they don't suffer immediately. And so from that point of view, again, that is why, because they are creating more cause for suffering, and because they will be experiencing more suffering, therefore they are the stronger object of love and compassion. That is when we practice the most of the path, of love and compassion, is that, to develop more love and compassion with those who are suffering most. And these beings are the one who will be suffering most because of their such actions and behaviors and attitude. From that understanding, that is why we need to cultivate even more love and compassion. But again, we have to be very we have to be able to differentiate the persons and persons' actions. That's very important. Okay. As Aryabhava, one of the Nagarjuna's main disciples, in his, 400 verses, and in others, in many other teachings, in those teaching and practice, they advise, to differentiate the person's action and the persons. While we cultivate kindness, love, compassion to the persons, but we should try to stand up for that person's harmful actions. Are we clear? While we try to stand up for such a harmful behavior and actions, because it's going to harm and hurt so many beings, we have to stand up for that. While we stand up for their actions, we should feel love and compassion for them. I think it's such a powerful and wonderful way of saying, because normally we are unable to differentiate the persons and persons' actions. If we dislike the person's actions, we feel, why should I be compassionate for that person's? Do you get it? Why should I be compassionate to that person? Why should I be kind to that person when that person's behavior or action is very mean and cruel and harmful? On the other hand, if I have to be compassionate and kind and loving to that person, that means maybe I shouldn't stand up for that person's harmful behavior or actions. That is because we are unable to differentiate these two things. And so it's very, very important to be differentiating those things, two things, the actions and the person. While we disagree with the actions, while we take actions to stop such harmful actions and behavior, at the same time, to be able to feel love and compassion for the beings. And again, we have perfect example of so many beings, practitioners. You can see like His Holiness Dalai Lama, one of him. We can see Desmond Tutu, while they all stand up for injustice being done to the, most vulnerable and others. They always speak against them. They always stood up for those, most vulnerable ones. They always stand up for them, but at the same time, they don't have any kind of bitter feeling, anger, hatred feeling for those people who engage in such behavior and actions, where they are able to feel kindness, love, and compassion for them. At the same time, they stand up for such behavior and actions. And so again, these are great teachings, great example for us to follow. And again, if they are able to do that, we also have the potential to do that if we put effort. I just give just 2 examples, but there are so many thousands of people who are able to do that. Where they are fighting for, or maybe fighting, I don't know the right word that I want to use, but who are trying to stand up to protect those who are mistreated, and all of that. But at the same time, not being angry and upset and bitter with the persons who engage in those. And so I think that is again another important factor we have to remember to differentiate those two things, to do. So therefore, from when you look from that perspective, when you reflect on from that, then again, it's absolutely possible for someone to be kind and compassionate, even in most difficult, challenging time, and with most difficult and challenging persons. It is possible. It is possible. It's only whether we are willing to put the effort to do that. A lot of time we dislike that person so much we don't even want to put effort to feel kind, compassion for that person, isn't it? Why should I spend my energy? Why should I waste energy even trying to feel compassion for that person? Because we dislike that person so much. Or you might try to practice meditation, loving kindness and compassion that person's kindness, but the moment you think, your mind is kind of, agitated and all of that, and then you just give up. You don't try hard enough to overcome that whatever feeling agitations, whatever feeling of at the very beginning, the blockage, the blockage that we to not being able to open fully. There's this kind of feeling that unable to feel the love and compassion because there's so much wall blockage that's come in front of us. And then maybe we might say, I can never feel compassion for that person. I can never feel love, kindness for that person. And we don't work hard enough, we don't give enough time, enough effort. But if we do try, if we do put enough effort, and if we do give enough time, even someone you feel most difficult to feel any love, compassion at the moment, with the time and the practice, definitely you will be able to feel that. Definitely you will be able to feel that. Because so many beings has been able to do that. And we have the same mind, same potentials. And being kind and compassionate is not it's not because I'm kind and compassionate. I'm not doing any favor for that person. I'm doing favor for myself. Sometimes we feel, oh, why should I do any favor for that person? And it feel like that cultivating a love, compassion, kindness to that person seems like we're doing favor to that person. No, you are doing favor to ourselves. Because your life will be much more happier and much more peaceful. It's much more joyful and less miserable if you don't have any kind of that kind of feeling, frustration, anger, hatred, all those feelings. We all know, when we are in that kind of state of mind, when we are in a state when there's too much frustration going in our life, in that time, when there's too much anger and hatred, our life becomes very miserable. Very miserable. Very unhappy. Very unhappy. So therefore, cultivating love, compassion, and kindness, even in most difficult time, and even to most difficult persons, is to protect ourselves, is to protect our own happiness. You know? And hopefully that will have some positive impact on other person as well. Hopefully that will also have something positive impact and consequences for other person as well. But what really immediately what help is ourselves. Ourselves. And so therefore, in a way, we have no options because we want to be happy. You know, if we want to be happy, then we should try to engage in that make us happy and more peaceful and more kind. You know, and so that is yeah. Mm. And another practice, another Buddhist practice, you know, meditation method that can be helpful, beneficial, to reduce and overcome feeling of frustration, impatience, you know, anger, you know, negative hatred and so forth, and to be able to improve and increase sense of moral, you know, positive love, compassion, patience, you know, is the practice and meditating on, you know, emptiness. You know, the practice of emptiness can be very, very powerful. If you are frustrated with something, if you are impatient with something, you know, because, you know, we think, you know, whatever is happening is not good. What is happening is obstacles. Whatever is happening is unpleasant, challenge, you know. So that is why we are so frustrated, angry, negative. But again, you know, trying to analyze, you know, the very object or the very object that I'm angry about, that I'm impatient about, that I'm upset about, that I'm so negative about, you know. What is that object? Where is that object? Is there the object really? Does it exist really as it really from by itself, the way it appeared to us? Or there's something else than the appearance, you know? Just like examples, you know. Some two person engaging in some conversations, you know, and I haven't heard whole conversations. And when I came here, they are talking something about me, something not so nice. And I might think, you know, oh, they are talking bad about me. They are putting me down. But if I listened the whole conversation before, it's nothing, they are talking good about me, you know. So there's my appearance in that moment, and the reality is very different. Sometimes what we see is not the reality. What we hear, even though we feel like I saw with my eyes, we saw with our eyes, but we didn't see the complete picture. We only saw part of the pictures, and we think we saw everything. And we say, I saw it with my own eyes. Sometimes we say, I heard myself. But we did hear, but we didn't hear the whole pictures. That is the not reality what you heard. It's not full reality. And sometimes thoughts come in our mind with things, and we think that is the reality. But everything that you believe, everything you think is not reality. And so therefore, we're upset of something because we feel that is the absolute reality. We are frustrated because we think that is absolute reality. We get angry because we think that is absolute reality. But if we really analyze this deeply, even though there is that appearance, even though because of that appearance, even though we feel so real of that, but the actual reality is something else in that. And when we realize that, then whatever frustration, anger, impatience, will kind of decrease, will decrease. The moment you realize, the appearance is false. It's not the reality, It's like, for example, I think when I was young, I think I saw one story. I don't know whether it's coming from some English book or Tibetan book. I'm not so sure, I cannot recall fully, but there is a story of, rabbit or hare, saw a moon fall saw the image of the moon in the lake, started running, the moon has fallen down. So now the world is going to fall, the world is going upside down, the moon has fallen, and started running with that fear and telling that, oh, the world is going upside down and the moon has fallen and the world is going upside and running, and then all animals follow that and they all run with that fear, And that is how it is. You can see that, there is an appearance, and we think that is the reality. And due to that, there's a fear, there's a frustration, there's anger, all of that. And then, we experience all this suffering and pain, But on the other hand, if we recognize and if we become aware and recognize, it's just the appearance. That is not the actual reality. That is not the actual truth. It's just the appearance, and that appearance is deceptive. And once we recognize that, then we don't have to be so upset. We don't have to be so frustrated. We don't have to be so angry about that, And if that is the case, now the next question comes. If that is the case, should we just let be everything as it is? Yeah. Does that thought come in your mind? If it is that case, so let be everything as it is, No, because, even though things do not exist the way it appears to our mind, the way it appears to our mind is to exist, whatever is appearing to us as a bad, good, pleasant, unpleasant, whatever different, appear to our mind, even though it appear, whatever that appear from by itself, from its own side by itself, but if we really analyze deeper, there's no truth in that. It does not exist by itself, from its own side by itself, And so therefore, based on believing that they exist by itself, from its own side, that's where those different emotions arises. When we realize, it does not exist by itself as it is, the way it appears to our mind from its own side by itself. At the same time, we cannot deny the different consequence and effect of that to ourselves. We experience that. If I go in the sun, it's too hot. If I jump into cold water, my body is cooling. There's two different effects. That is my direct experience. I cannot kind of deny that experience. If I take something, it will make me sick. If I take something else, it will cure me from that illness, sickness. I experienced that. There's a direct experience. I cannot deny that experience. So all those different objects, they have their own different individual functionings due to many factors, and it affects differently. They have different effects, they have different consequences, a different function, all of that. We cannot deny that. And so therefore, without feeling emotionally so strong like before, still we try to, whatever hurt, whatever is harmful, we try to keep it away. Whatever is helpful, we try to engage in that. Just like even for example, the image of the moon in the lake, okay? Even there is an image of the moon in the lake and it appears the moon is there. If you believe the moon is there, therefore the moon has fallen, therefore you have that fear. The world has gone upside down. Okay? So that is not the case, even though it appears in your mind, the moon is there, but still, even there is no moon in the lake, the actual moon in the lake, as it appears to us, but still there is the image of the moon and it has certain functioning. Do we get it? Even though the moon is not in the lake, but there is image of the moon, and because of the image of the moon, maybe there's more light. You can see the lake better and surrounding better. Maybe it makes the lake more cool. And so different function and different effect of that image, you cannot deny that. And so therefore, while there's no real moon in the lake, but there is still image of the moon that we cannot deny, and that image of the moon has certain functioning, and therefore you cannot deny that. And so that will be the same. So once you realize, there's no real moon as it appears, but there is an image of the moon, so you wouldn't have to be so fearful. At the same time, you can enjoy and experience the functioning of that image of the moon in the lake. And so that will be the similar, situation and how we try to take in terms of, through the understanding of emptiness in relation to a different effect and of the objects. And again, also a lot of things, how things appear to us and how it affects us very much depend on our perceptions, our mind, our karma. Even though sometimes we feel like there's nothing to do with my perception, nothing to do with my karma, is out there, is out there that is making me miserable. That's making us miserable. From the objective side, by itself, that object itself. But if we really analyze this, not everyone is feeling the same way that we feel. Why is that? Why is that? For some people, it's making them miserable. Some people, indifference, it doesn't make them happy, miserable, so-so, neutral. For some people, it makes them happy with that kind of same act, same kind of actions. Why is that? Why is that? We all are experienced differently. We are all experienced differently because we see things differently. And we see things differently because either due to our karma, there's a different appearance of that, or because we have different perception about the things, the event, the objects, the circumstances. So what does it show? What does it show? It shows that is coming more whatever we are experiencing, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, fear, worry, anxiety, anger, frustration, whatever. More than the object itself is from our perceptions and our karmic relationship with that object. So once we realize that, once we are aware of that, then we don't have to be so upset, frustrated, and angry, and all of that because of that object, because of that event. We don't have to be so upset and angry, frustrated with that. Because the moment I believe it comes from the object itself, from its own side, nothing to do with my perception, nothing to do with my karmic connections, nothing to do with that, then something bad happened, something bad that affect me, then that is where I get much more frustrations, anger, and hateful, and all of that. But once we understand, and not only is it perceptions, even our perception change all the time. Something I feel bad now, tomorrow I might think it was good. Something I felt good today, tomorrow I might feel it is bad. Hasn't our perception changed in our life so far? in many issues. As far as I'm concerned, my perception was changed on many issues. What I thought good or bad when I was young, and now what I thought good and bad, same situation, same, you know. Even though in that moment you feel that is the reality, that is the reality. That is the reality. There's nothing to do with my perceptions. Even though we feel that it's nothing to do with my perception, that's the reality, that's the fact. But as your life goes on, and when you contemplate, when you think about the past experiences and that, and you begin to see, oh, that wasn't exactly how it was, or that isn't the fact, you know. So, and because of that perception, how you perceive that affect you. You know, that affect you. And that perceptions will affect how you emotionally react or respond. You know, whether we react and respond positively, you know, emotionally, or whether we react negatively, whether we act with impatience or whether we will emotionally react with the patient, whether we act with anger, frustration, or whether we act with love and compassion. It very much depends on your perceptions. You know, if my mind perceives that something as positive, something as good, something as pleasant, something as helpful, my emotion reacts in some you know different than if I perceive that same event, same objects to be unpleasant, harmful, or something bad. Then my emotional reaction and my emotional response will be different. So therefore, when we understand that, then we see how we respond or how we react emotionally. It very much depends on our perceptions more than the object itself. Are we clear? At the moment, you know, you feel like I have no control how I respond emotionally, you know, whether I respond with anger, hateful, frustrations, anxiety, worry, and all of this. I have no control because when sudden circumstances, situations manifest, then you feel like that is how you respond, and other way around. But then once you respond, it's not because of the event itself, it's not because of the situation itself, but it's because of your perception about that situations. Then you feel like, oh, I have control. If I change my perceptions, I don't have to respond and react in such negative, emotionally negatively. You know, I don't have to respond. I don't have to react. You know, that I have the choice. I have the choice, regardless of whatever situation, events that is happening. I have the choice to respond emotionally negative or positively by choosing to change my perceptions, by choosing to see differently. And isn't that much more hopeful? You know, isn't that much more, you know, it's like you have control, or you take the in charge control of your your mind in that way, instead of giving the control to others, and allowing our emotions to kind of follow according to their action, their behavior, and event and circumstances. That's at the moment. At the moment, it's like we have totally given control to outside, how we respond, how we react emotionally. It all depends on others' behavior, actions, circumstances, situation, all that. But instead, I don't have to give control to them. I can take in charge of my emotion. I can take in charge of myself. I can be control of that by controlling and by changing my perceptions. That's all I need to do. And in terms of changing our perception, then I think we spoke different things that we in the past in other sessions, looking from karmic point of view, looking for something positive in that, where you focus your mind. If I focus on the negative, then my perception will be negative, and then I will feel bad about it. But if I focus on the positive, then I will feel more positive about that. I will have more feeling, have a more positive perception about the situation or the events and that, and therefore then it will affect my mind to be more positive and more. So again, changing your perceptions is where you focus. As I said before, in the painting, there might be black, white, gray, many different. And it depends on where you focus on. A lot of time we just focus, something bad happened, we just focus on the black side. We cannot, and we don't see the gray and the white and others. And we just focus on the white, and it feels like the whole painting is black, which is not true. And then that is when our mind becomes very negative and dark. On the other hand, I make effort to focus, even though I see the black, gray, white, and all of that in that canvas, in what I'm painting. If I choose to pay more focus and attention to the white, slowly, it feels more white. And then that uplift your mind, that make your life more lighter and uplifting. And it's all, whatever technique, by focusing on something, it makes your mind negative and bad. Why focus on that? By focusing on something, if it uplift your mind, if it make your mind positive, if it make your mind more hopeful, why not focus on that? And so that is because life and experience and event and circumstances are not as just black and white as we always say. There's many layers and colors in that. A lot of time we tend to just focus in those two things. Either it's black or it is white. So that's one way of kind of changing our perceptions. Okay. When we say changing the perceptions, it's not saying someone's harmful actions is helpful actions. Are we clear? Someone's hurting and harming someone, and then saying changing your perception. Oh, this is very helpful. He's helping. That action is helping so many beings. Yeah. So then, what else I might want to touch on, if there is anything that I might do. And then another thing is that, I think focusing on the, as we have been saying, focusing on the good side in order to feel more positive and more love, compassion, kindness to people, especially which we feel they are not kind, mean, cruel, as well as ourselves. When we feel low about ourselves, it's focusing on our own and others, basic, fundamental good qualities of Buddha nature, the Buddha nature. Fundamentally, all sentient beings have that nature. Fundamentally, basic altruistic nature. Due to circumstances, conditions, sometimes we become unkind and mean. But deep inside, fundamentally, is the altruistic kindness. When you focus on that, then again, it helps us to uplift and be more hopeful. Because no matter how bad, whether ourselves or others, no matter how bad it might seem, there is always hope, because fundamentally, you are good. Fundamentally, your nature is compassion. Fundamentally, your nature is altruistic. So therefore, there is hope for us, there's hope for others to change. There's always hope to change because of that fundamental nature. If the circumstances is changed, then that person can change and be able to connect with their fundamental good nature, kindness, artistic nature. If fundamentally you have flaw, then then there's no hope. But fundamentally, that is fundamentally, and not only the Buddha said and mentioned that, not only the Buddha said and mentioned that, but even with many of the research in recent time, that is many of the findings that they have found, there's a lot of research that has been done trying to find what is the fundamental nature, the basic fundamental nature of the human beings. And especially they focus on the young children because they are more true to their nature, because they have been less kind of polluted by later part from all the information that you get and what you see, what you hear, what, all this. So we gather all of that, and so, but the children who hasn't been so exposed to all of that, they are more close and true to their nature. And that is what they found in those research, They did even with the children who cannot even speak, like 6 months, and showing the pictures of, another children, helping another children, how they react, showing pictures of another children bullying another children and how they react, how they respond. And they found out, they don't support and they are not happy when someone's bullying someone. And there is sense of happiness and joy when they see another child helping another child. They can't even speak, very young, even in that, just by that. And so, part of that research, many different other things, and not only the human beings, they deal with others, animal as well, monkeys, chimpanzees, and all of that, And so again, so I guess because I'm sharing that, because sometimes even the Buddha has said, we have this Buddha nature and our fundamental, sometimes we are not sure, But maybe if it is the science, new research show it, maybe we kind of believe more, I guess. We feel more kind of, we seem to kind of, people seem to have, and so again, even though it might be the same message that has been shared more than 2,050 years ago, still we might not feel so sure about that. And now some of those new research come and show, and then we feel, oh, that must be the case. But as long as, but I think, so yeah, that is helpful. That practice meditation can be helpful to be more positive, because there's always, no matter how cruel, mean, unkind anyone can be, evil one can be, but there's always opportunity, possibility to change and to go and to become a much better and kinder, compassionate persons. And because of that fundamental nature, that basic fundamental nature. And that can be same to us. And same with us, when we think we are so bad, we are, I'm not a good practitioner, I'm not a good person, I'm too selfish, whatever, so I'm incapable, I'm all kinds of things that we could have about ourselves and be very negative about ourselves, and all of that. Again, we just try to meditate on that, the basic fundamental nature of us. That's not who we are, even though I might feel I'm a very selfish person, even though I might feel, I'm not a good practitioner, I'm not a kind person, I'm not all of this, not all of that, even though I might feel that way, but because of many different situations, because of different circumstances, because of different, all of that, I might be feeling that way, but fundamentally, I'm not that. Fundamentally, the basic fundamentally, I'm kind and altruistic. So, again, that can be helpful to uplift ourselves and not to be too harsh on ourselves. And then we also apply that to others, and also we learn through that same meditation, we also learn to be kind and gentle to others and not to be too harsh on others as well. With the same meditations. Instead of meditating on your Buddha nature, now you meditate on Buddha nature of that person. So yeah, so I think that is all kind of, I wanted to kind of touch. So if there's any questions or something to share, most welcome.
Geshe, Heather, I was going to share, I had a situation where I usually get pretty angry, and instead of getting angry, I felt myself thinking, this is what it feels like to feel helpless, and this is what it feels like to think I don't matter to someone, or that someone doesn't care what happens to me. And so I thought about, this is just what people feel. This is the feeling in it. And it made me in the moment think about my situation where I feel helpless and like someone doesn't care what happens to me, compared to, like a child that's been left hungry, or someone in a war zone that's having the same feeling, but it's so much more threatening And so it was a really nice shift over the course of these weeks to kind of shift from anger to I think trying to at least have the wish to have bodhicitta. So I just wanted to share that this has been helpful in that regard. It's something that I've seen shift for me.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sure that it is helpful for many to reflect, contemplate, like that you contemplated and thought, and that how that helped shift your feelings in the same way, yeah. Anyone else?
I just have a question, Geshe. The teachings today were so helpful and so wonderful, but somebody told me that the Dalai Lama sent a lot of people who came to Dharamsala, sent them back to Tibet, and he thought that was really terrible. And I always loved the Dalai Lama and think very highly of him. Do you know, is that true, that he sent a lot of people back to Tibet?
I don't think so. I don't think why he would send them, there is a lot of propagandas.
Yeah. My friend said he saw it in a documentary film.
Yes, there is a lot of propaganda documentary that has been made where, what Dalai Lama did before 1959, how they were enslaving this and that and all,
Yeah. Thank you. That's very helpful. Just like our media, there's so much propaganda in all of our media.
Yeah, like even like sometime when I'm listening, watching His Holiness Dalai Lama's teachings on life, and then people started to chat, sending love, sometimes Tashidele, long life His Holiness. And then I see there are few guys who always come and started to say negative about Dalai Lama, always saying, oh, you people, Dalai Lamas and Tibetan have been brainwashed by the Indian governments, and all kind of things. So it feels like there is someone, I don't know, I can't say for sure, the Chinese government or someone paying someone to do that. Every teaching, everything, that person comes, there are a couple of people.
Yeah. Well, we have people here doing the same thing in all the media. Mm-hmm. They're paid to do that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
So there are a lot of propaganda going on.
Yeah, no, he's one of my teachers and I think he's wonderful. Thank you. And these were great teachings. I'm so glad that you gave them today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Yeah. Any? If there's no questions, nothing to share, nothing to, then we can do the dedications. We still have, yeah? May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and the mind open an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, fall ill. May no one be afraid to be little, with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored, finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water, delicious strength. May the poor find wealth, those who will be sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from all their ailments. Whatever disease there in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other for as long as space remains. For as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone. And
Thank you, Geshe-la, and on behalf of Lama Yeshe House and our sister center in California, thank you so much for these teachings, and we kindly request you to come back and teach again. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night and thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.